Good afternoon, everybody. Tropical Storm Elsa continues to intensify and organize as it now has this large egg-shaped eye that has formed on radar. It is wrapping convection completely around this circulation now. Looks like Hurricane Elsa is going to be named very shortly by the next advisory. And look at this intense rain band, this convection wrapping around the northern side. Big time latent heat release happening there, leading to those surface pressure falls, the outflow as well, extending way beyond this convection, definitely choking off that westerly wind shear and even the dry air that was wrapping around and eroding that southern side of the circulation. Definitely a very clear eye showing up on radar. A dangerous storm now, heading off to the north, a little bit right of that forecast cone, heading directly toward the Tampa Bay area. It could wobble back to the left once again. But either way, a dangerous storm surge is heading for Tampa Bay with those southwesterly winds on the south side of that circulation, piling up at least 5 feet of storm surge up there around the bay above ground level. Definitely a dangerous storm surge happening, and including areas off to the south of Tampa as well. Definitely incredible development with this storm. There's also some divergence ahead of that upper level low that's located over the central Gulf region that has helped carve out a pocket of a favorable atmosphere for this thing to intensify. And now with a more vertically aligned tropical cyclone like you're seeing right here, this thing is getting pushed just a little bit off to the east of that official forecast track. I can show you the forecast track here on the Radar Omega app. And there it is. There's that forecast track. And the eye is very close to the official track of the National Hurricane Center with this large egg-shaped eye happening. The centroid of it does appear to be a little bit off to the east of that forecast track, but it certainly could wobble back to the left once again. But it is heading off to the due north, heading very close to the Tampa, St. Pete area, up toward Clearwater as well. This is a very storm surge prone area here, relatively low in elevation as well surrounding these bays. So I do expect there to be several feet of water potentially in those low-lying areas around Tampa Bay as the storm moves off to the north. And there's also a tornado threat that could develop across northern Florida, but so far we don't have much in the way of surface-based convection. Many of these storms that have tried to get going out here have just petered out near central Florida. A lot of high clouds out here as well. Here you can see some of the Radar Omega team headed off to the south. Michael Phelps heading down to intercept that storm as well. A hurricane warning is in effect from the Tampa area off to the north, including the Florida Big Bend there. And that's much needed because this thing is likely to be a hurricane, probably already a hurricane right now. But we're just waiting for that information to come in. Likely that pressure dropping well into the 990s there. The temperature will be rising within this eye. Definitely an egg-shaped eye here. Very intense convection along the northern edge. Hopefully this thing will weaken a little bit between now and when it makes landfall in Tampa, but it looks to be heading off to the north, heading in that direction. Might wobble back again to that official NHC forecast track there. Forecast to be a hurricane by this evening. Probably already a hurricane right now. And let me take a look at the potential for tornadoes as well for this storm. Pulling up some of the environmental conditions. Here is that official forecast track. So it is a pretty dangerous storm, very compact core here that's been able to thrive within that divergence out ahead of that upper trough. And here is that official forecast track by the National Hurricane Center, forecast to be a hurricane midnight, very close to the Tampa Bay area. Might make landfall as early as that, but it also could be a little bit further north in the Florida Big Bend region there. And there is a tornado watch that has been issued for a large portion of the Florida Peninsula. And let me show you that tornado watch as well. Then we'll break down the environment within this system and where the best chance of that tornado threat could be. There's that tornado watch. Includes the Keys still, likely for that feeder band that's going to be passing over the Keys later on today. Likely we'll need another tornado watch as well further north. That'll include the Gainesville, Orlando, Daytona Beach area. This area is socked in with rain for the most part. Not a lot of surface-based instability. But as we saw yesterday, some of those storms will develop more nocturnally over the ocean and then move on land. So that definitely could happen. Those storms could develop to the southeast of Florida, move on land, then develop tornado potential. But right now there's a lot of convective inhibition within that rain shield. We've had a lot of stratiform rain up there. There is even a divergent area off to the north of that rain shield, where those winds shift from east-northeasterly over to east-southeasterly, and that has led to relative subsidence there across northern Florida. And we haven't seen those bands of supercell storms form up there as they very easily could have. But you can see that little hole in the Cape associated with that rain, leading to a little bit of convective inhibition and the possibility that maybe convection won't form. But eventually, likely we'll see supercell storms in that main convective band comes ashore near Tampa. Likely to see some tornado warnings there as well. Those southeasterlies will just feed into Tampa Bay there with a big-time storm surge as well. But I'm not seeing a development of much in the way of effective storm relative felicities across northern Florida either. So looks like most of those effective felicities ramp up a little bit as that hurricane core comes ashore. But overall, I thought this was going to be a bigger tornado setup than it has been so far, and a lot of it is due to that convective inhibition and the inability for dry air to really get entrained into this system. I'm pretty excited to see what the hurricane hunters find out in their next pass within this system. It's en route right now toward Elsa, still heading in that direction. Looks like it just left. So this is a mission 14. When it gets out to that system inside, likely will be upgraded to a hurricane. You can see how it looked before during the 2 p.m. Eastern Time recon mission. This whole entire southwest side was exposed due to wind shear, dry air entrainment, but that convection has been propagating into this center all day long. Now it's wrapped completely around it, and we have an eye, so we're likely going to see an upgrade to a hurricane very shortly. As soon as that recon mission arrives, that's when it's going to happen. The last one indicated pressures down to about 1,000 millibars there with that red line, and it's really going to be exciting to see this data coming in. We're looking at the tropicaltidbits.com website here. And the HWRF has done a pretty good job at handling this. Definitely the European model yesterday picked up on this thing right away. We'll have to use the 18Z run here again for the HWRF. But it definitely shows this kind of oscillating system weakening a little bit, then another convective flare-up off to the east. But Elsa has definitely defied even the HWRF, intensifying a lot more rapidly than this model has shown, and completely enclosing an eye as well around it. Definitely, this is the 18Z HWRF here. Definitely underestimating the strength of this system in my opinion, but we need to wait until hurricane under aircraft arrive on this thing to confirm that it's a hurricane. Sure looks like one to me though, clearing out that eye as well on radar here and wrapping that convection completely around this system. Whether it should be able to sustain that as well, now that it's kind of carved out that pocket of a favorable atmosphere for intensification, and it'll probably continue to intensify. Definitely kind of reminds me of Hannah last year, and I definitely should have chased this event now, of course. It's not a clear eye by any means, but it is an eye that is visible on radar. Not on visible satellite yet, but you do see that nice convective explosion. Look at the gravity waves too within the outflow pattern here. That outflow extending way out here, so that's definitely counteracted that westerly shear that we've all been talking about across the eastern Gulf of Mexico that was able to erode the western and southern side of that circulation. Now this thing has a full-blown inner core right there, and on radar it is clearing out that eye within it. Definitely some convection starting to show up here. The tops here, those agitated tops heading toward the Tampa area. Big gusty conditions, rain bands about to arrive there. So we're about the 7 o'clock hour. So here you can see the satellite imagery. Let's take a look at infrared to get an idea of how robust this convection is. And this is nuts. Look at that. This thing is really ramping up. Continues to intensify here. Convective explosion. Compact inner core as well. Clearing out an eye even down there. Looks like on satellite it might be wobbling a little bit off to the west. Fanning out a big, almost looks like a baroclinic leaf pattern here. A big outflow. In this storm, basically that outflow carved out a pocket within the atmosphere that is favorable for intensification. Hurricane Hunter aircraft are on the way. Pretty excited to see what they uncover with this storm. But it is clearing out an egg-shaped eye right in the middle there, at least on radar and on infrared satellite imagery here. Definitely should have chased this. My plan is to chase central and eastern Nebraska on Friday, but should have tried to chase both, get this landfall, and then pop back and then chase the event in Nebraska as well. And the eye even appears to be getting a bit more compact. At northern eye wall here, northern part of the core is still dominating. Big rains moving in to Tampa. Sarasota just got overspread by this first batch here. A little bit of a squall that came through earlier, but then conditions will rapidly deteriorate behind this line. Definitely behind this line. That's when the dangerous hurricane conditions are going to arrive. This thing is definitely intensifying. Just waiting for the Hurricane Hunter aircraft to arrive, and then we'll confirm that this is indeed a hurricane, but you can definitely see that it's closing off, becoming vertically oriented, very compact core. So this hurricane could intensify a bit more rapidly than many of those models are showing. But that is a live update. I'm going to continue to go live through the evening too with this storm, as I still think that this thing is going to be full of surprises. Could be very close to making landfall out here near Tampa, which would bring those strong southwesterlies ripping into Tampa Bay, piling up at least a 5-foot storm surge there, and likely greater than that. And a big storm surge will continue off to the north, as this system's likely going to graze very near Tampa, maybe even turning right into Tampa Bay, and then off to the north as well. And I'll have some video too from my storm chaser friends that are on the ground covering this thing. You can see that outflow pattern surging way out almost out here high up in the atmosphere, definitely carving out a little pocket for this storm to thrive in just offshore the west coast of Florida. So I'm going to continue to deliver these live updates all night tonight as we are watching this thing, likely Hurricane Elsa. You're looking at it right here. That eye, maybe a little bit of a squall coming in from the west with a little bit of outflow, a little dry air intrusion here. Might be eroding the eye as that little shelf cloud, that little outflow area is trying to erode that very circular eye. Quite surprisingly circular there. Compact storm. We are witnessing this thing intensify right before our eyes, moving off to the northeast. So stay tuned for these live updates, live weather reports. I'll continue to go live as this situation evolves through evening. Never stop briefing.